Astros. Their logic is dot dot dot. Their logic is dot dot dot. And who is there that we're referring to? Well, for this context in this video, we're referring to any energies that willfully and intentionally participate in some type of ritualized harm or some type of malignant, nefarious, manipulation of another person's energy via spell work to exact harm or to get their way. Okay, whether it is they're looking for success, they want a husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend way, they want to so and so, they whatever their reasons are, their train of thought and logic, and in some cases this is that some of them actually verbalize and say to one another, especially when you're talking about groups of people that are in cults and secret societies, or found groups of people who know something about spell work and they saw results, and for them the bottom line logic is that it works. Okay, so the reason why I'm sharing this is because oftentimes you get in the cosmos all these questions that people are saying, why would folks do such a thing? Why would they do such a reason for that? Why, that doesn't make sense. Blase, why, how come they can't just blah, 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 blah. And we have to understand that we're all running on something, and these are individuals who are wanting the way. And that's really the shortest version, to not make this unnecessarily lengthy and wordy. That's the shortest version I could provide. They met someone, they met a group, they met a person, and they got a taste of instant gratification, no matter what it cost. So that's folks that they're locked into their survival mode. They don't care. They don't care nothing about it's not just, it's not ethical, it's crossing a line and a bound of someone else's free will. It's causing harm to innocent life. It's disruptive. It's consequences could negatively impact, this one, and as a result, negative one. Well, they're not thinking. They're just thinking, hey, I know I can control my mommy and daddy. I know I'm under subjection. I know I can control, my husband, my wife, my boy. I've seen the fruit of my spell. I've seen the fruit of my stuff. And so I don't really care. It's benefiting me right now. I don't care that this person don't truly love me. I don't care that, I you know what I'm saying? The only reason blase this is because of, I don't care. What I care about is the result that I wanted, even if the result that I wanted may come with a shit ton, mountain ton of other shit that I have not yet to connect the dots to what's happening. At the end of the day, I'll just do more spell work on top of more spell work to further create snowballs of messes, but to get me out of one mess to another mess and another mess at the expense of whoever. Even if that expense ends up being them, because in some cases it do. I'm simply sharing this to help those of you out there that you stay there for a long time. I've been there. The whole gaslighting of ourselves, the whole back and forth, the whole, how could they do such a thing? Why would they do such a thing? They don't care about how this affects little children. They care about their children. They don't care about how it affects somebody else's little children or somebody else's innocent. They want what they want that bad. They don't care. Yeah, they don't care. And as soon as you can catch up to the fact, I don't care what kind of united front, I don't care about the performance, I don't care about it may seem a certain way. We're really speaking of folks who you know who they are and they know who they are. And the bottom line is, I like having this kind of seemingly power and control over people's lives, or at least I think that's what this is. I like that I could hurt people. I'm too cowardly. So what I can do is slither behind the scene and hide behind others and hide behind husbands and wives and children and grandchildren and hide behind, plausible deniability and hide behind screens and hide behind, you know, I like that I can do that, but then in the corner sniggling and giggling as a like menace to society. Okay. They like that. And that's because of their unprocessed stuff. It's not for us to try to figure out all the details, but it's the quicker you can kind of get to that space, the quicker you can exasperate your energies on you. Getting, my intentions are that sovereignty, getting to that total sovereignty, the refortifying my remembrance, working with the biofield and activating all of those things so that it's null and void, that essentially what beings decide to do and not do outside of me is no longer impenetrable if I don't want it to be. Okay, and the only reason why this stuff ever is penetrable, though, and this is for all of us, this is what we don't know, and this is the whole game of the simulation, is to attempt to make sure that you can't do that, that your life conditions, that your circumstances, that your environments, that your surroundings makes it impossible, but it still can be done. It's gonna be a bloody shit show, I tell you. But all I can say is that it still can be done in just one moment and one breath at a time. And that's very cliche. I'm not talking about new age escapism. I'm simply saying when you start working with the tools, there's no calendar and there's no cookie cut set. Okay, you start working with your tools and expanding your tools. It's going to become less about the defense and protect yourself. It's going to, over time, it is, because as we're working through this and on our children's behalf and stuff like that, I get these dynamics. I have a differently abled son. I get that. Okay, but the more we're doing this, and we're dealing with this subconscious stuff, these contracts that are running, this stuff that is hard cooked in our DNA, in our spinal fluid, in our brain stem, all these things, right? As well as the trauma scripts, the trauma imprints, all of these things that are there. I don't care if we have an Armani suit on, we've got 2 Mercedes, we've got 5 houses, we've got, that's not an indication that those things have been dealt with. Money is not even an indication. Some of us really, we really bought into the bullshit. We all have. So it's going to become more, and that's really refreshing. I'm sitting here, as you all can see, I'm sitting here under the tree. You can see the sun there. It's hot. This is a big one. This is the guardian tree. The way that it leans, and there's like a prong. There's a 3-pronged tree, and the rest of the trees here, it's a guardian tree. But I'm not gonna get too far into that nature stuff. But working with acoustics, not to just, oh, this is some ambient, sounds. No, this is giving conditions so that I, as I'm grounding, can allow myself to let whatever comes up in terms of whatever comes up. Memories, flashes of thoughts, pictures, crying, feelings through the body, because it's not about forcing, it's about the conditions being created. Okay, and setting intention with that. Like, this is what this is my full clear intention for alchemy, for this shit ends now. It ends now. Whatever the bullshit is, whatever the loops that they have you on, that you have been running. And a part of that is the coming to grips in terms of, especially when it comes to loved ones or lovers or people, that it just doesn't make sense. You cannot find logical sense, which is why the rest of the world has a hard time believing it too. Because there's no logical sense for it. Somebody that gives you money, somebody that, lets you lay your head on that pillow. Like, what, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, it doesn't make sense. And even though we know, we've seen it in made for TV movies and all these things, that, yeah, it never does make sense, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. But cognitive dissonance, our own scripting, our trauma scripting, our ancestral patterning, you know what I'm saying? Wanting to see and believe the best, wanting to think that, people change and, people, people don't. And that's not doom's pessimism. It's humans are habitual. And it's a rare percentage of humans that's really willing to go here to change that perpetual habit of being an abuser. Of being a scam artist. Of being willing to, that's intention. That's not, I turned 50 and so I am no longer, nah, nigga. If the only thing that I have constantly refortified over and over and over the fuck again, that's what it is. My decisions, my secret life, my vibration, everything about who I am. If I've done nothing with that, then that is what it is. It's not just, I now make better choices. I stopped drinking. I stopped drugging. I stopped street running. I start budgeting. Those are all great things, but that's not what we're talking about here. Those are great things. Those are wonderful things to do. But we're talking about the what makes up us. Everything that makes us us, that causes us to conduct and behave in the ways in which we do, in front of people and not in front of people, in front of certain ones and not in front of certain ones, when we go in our room and close our door and think no one knows and sees. All of it. All of that comprises of us. That's it. It may be hidden from, but that's all comprising of us. When we are like closed off in some room somewhere, when we're having secret rendezvous, secret conversations, whatever our secret double, triple, quadruple lives are. They say it works, and that's good enough for them, collective. That's good enough for these people, onlookers. Stop trying to find motive. Stop trying to find something that's going to satisfy you. If somebody is getting a benefit from what they're doing, the very basic, primitive, and even childlike understanding of that is it works. If a child can tantrum, pout, yell, scream, and bitch and moan till you end up caving to give them their way, no matter what kind of speech you've given them, no matter what you try to explain to them, to break down to them, at the end of the day, if their persistence with saying whatever they're saying, falling out, and if at the end of the day what you just did is taught them that all they have to do is complain, bitch and moan, fall out long enough to eventually get the result that they want. And that's humanity. And especially if you're dealing with the younger crowd, because you're dealing with the younger things that come with that. But I dare to say also any population, because sometimes the old is worse because it's fermented, it didn't cemented, it didn't became crystallized into their whole shit. And now they're old, so they don't have the youthfulness to lean back on to manipulate their lives, their way through life through. So they really got to lean more into the dark, the darker stuff, because just being able to go get your hair did, your nails did, a haircut, you know what I'm saying, a tan, a new outfit, and some perfume, in 20 minutes, you got yourself a John, or a Jeanette, or you know what I'm saying? They no longer can you wield that. So now it's even more prevalent to have to rely on the darker side of things. The crying, the manipulating, the guilt tripping, the other spell work to influence somebody, to bend them, and all of those things. That's all we need to know. I'm not going to say my apologies, because it's not my fault. Let me get up. I'm not going to say my apologies to you all here, okay? But I'm going to say, oh, help my life. I'm not going to say my apologies, but I'm going to say, I'm going to say, whew, there we go. I'm going to say, it is unfortunate that we have had to live through some of these things. It is, I can't make light of it. I can't spiritual bypass, sugary it. There's really no way around it, but I am here to give what I got in terms of ways of empowerment, ways of shifting while attempting to deal. Okay? That's exactly why. But that's all you need to know. And you're not going to ever, in this case, if this is true, you're not going to have some kind of talk. You're not going to go to Starbucks and have tea and coffee. You're not going to have a nice, cool meal. These folks, they'll sit looking dead-eyed as ever. They will stand in front of you. They will smile. They will hee and ha. If it's your boss, I don't care who it is. This is a general discussion. But if it's folks that are involved, they will literally sit there and smile at you, and because at the end of the day, it's their survival. Period. No ethics, no morals, no groundedness, no none of that. No sense of anything other than, and that's what it's gonna be for them. What we can do is what we can do for us. Okay? And that helps to let it, I'm not gonna let it go. I know y'all tired of hearing that. Let it go, let it go, let it go. But with the alchemy, because you're no longer going back and forth. You're no longer, the gaslighting, that's all the things that's designed to get you to question your reality, their performance, the street theater, the false kindness, the you know what I'm saying, all those things. You don't combat it. It's just, you're just seeing from a clearer space. There's nothing to be done. Okay? They say it works. And a lot of them, that's the only way they can feel, and not that this is an excuse, but that's the only way that they can feel any kind of sense of power. These could be people that actually feel powerless, no matter how they present. This can make them feel a sense of power, knowing that they could get what they want, knowing that they can be sneaky, knowing that they could, negatively impact somebody. It gives them some kind of a false sense, and that's theirs to live. The short answer is they do it because they get a benefit from it, whether they're going to tell you about that benefit or not. They do it because it works. If they feel like they never have relationships to work the way they want it, they manipulate those and do spells on their mother, father, sister, brother, potential friend, girlfriend, auntie, uncle, niece, nephew, cousin, because. And that's all you need to know. Namaste.